So hard to try and explain what I'm the one stood.
There were tears. There was, it was just before a game, but they decided it was best that we know.
There was actually people crying in there, grown men, At one point, they thought I'd never play football again. If it weren't for the NHS, I wouldn't be here today. For a 34-year-old, I suppose my life story is quite incredible, really, and I've experienced a lot in life that probably some 6-year-olds wouldn't experience.
Eastleigh manager Chris Todd has had a successful footballing career. Having come through the academy at Swansea, Todd went on to play for the likes of Exeter and Torquay before a single phone call would change his life forever.
The dream was always to be a professional footballer, and to play for your local club would have been an incredible achievement, and luckily enough I got to do that. Every club I've been to, they've been superb. I've had really great memories, and Exeter was one of them because I ended up being the club captain and managed to take them to Wembley and lead them out Wembley, the new Wembley at the time, which was something special. To do that for the football club. It was just a shame we didn't win on the day, of course, and get promoted. I've been lucky enough to play at Wembley 3 times. Not many people do that. There's players in the Premiership who'll never play at Wembley.
Todd is now aiming for promotion to the Football League after being made manager of Eastleigh earlier this season.
Football's a strange game. It really is. Things change from one minute to the next. And if you'd asked me that 2 or 3 years ago if I was going to be manager of a football club, I probably would have said no. I would have probably laughed, you know what I mean? Because but you never know what happens. You never know what's around the corner. And as it happens, I am now the football manager of this club, and I'm loving every minute of it.
I'm probably in the job 2 or 3 years before I expected to be. I think Toddy'd probably say the same thing, but we've both been preparing for it and ready for it for a while, and you can never have a right time. You have to take the opportunity when it comes along, and it'll be an interesting to see how we both go on from there.
But Todd hasn't always been so lucky. In 2008, Todd's world was turned upside down as he was diagnosed with chronic myeloid leukemia, leaving him fighting for his life and almost leaving his 6-month-old daughter growing up without a father.
The day I got told I was ill, I remember having the phone call, which was hard enough to take on its own, but after getting off the phone call from the doctor when they said I had leukemia, the first thing I did is went online, researched what leukemia was, what it could do to you, the ins and outs, and it was the worst thing I did because I read stuff that was the most grim stuff you've ever read in your life, and it basically numbered my days, and I thought, flipping, that's a bit harsh, you know what I mean? There must be good stories. At one point, I thought I'd never play football again, which was really hard to accept, leaving school, being a professional footballer from day dot. I didn't know anything else, so to get told I might never play again, well, soul destroying, You feel invincible. You don't think anything will go wrong. You just feel like you live your days enjoying life and playing football and living the lifestyle of a footballer. You get into this little bubble that you're invincible, and then something like that turns it all on its head and change your whole complexion and thoughts of everything, really. I believe I've come out stronger after it.
Although when Todd discovered his illness, there were greater implications than just his footballing career.
When you get told you got an illness like that, that's going to potentially threaten your life, strangely enough, you don't actually think about yourself, you think about everybody else around you. And at the time I had a daughter who, she was 6 months at that point. How do you cope with that? Not to think to yourself, I'm not going to be here for her to go to, to get to her 18th birthday, or, what I mean, it's too hard to explain, My daughter, my wife at the time, obviously, they were massive parts of me getting better because they were my little rocks, I'd come home every day and I'd look at them and I think, this is why I'm here to look after these, to support them, and they were shining lights, really. I am lucky. I know I'm lucky because I've got 3 now. We're a big little family.
It was here at Torquay United in 2008 where Todd discovered he had leukemia. One of his close teammates at the time, and now manager of Torquay, Kevin Nicholson, recalls an emotional afternoon.
Down here in one of the rooms down this corridor, Toddy and his dad and the manager were all in there, and we all came in and they broke the news to us, and it was a very emotional time. There were tears. There was, it was just before a game, but they decided it was best that we know, and I think they were right. We were all very emotional from it because he's a popular member of the squad. But yeah, you go through experiences like that with people. You have a bond that I think takes some breaking.
Went to Torquay and started off really well, and then obviously had the massive news that changed everything really, I suppose, in my life, and it was at the time very difficult. The time I told the lads at Torquay, I pulled them all into a room and basically just come out with it, and wow, as you can imagine, the lads' faces, they just couldn't cope with it really. It was hard for them to accept. There was actually people crying in there, grown men,
After the most difficult season of his life, Todd managed to get back to full fitness just in time for the perfect ending to the league campaign, gaining promotion with Torquay.
To get back playing football was big enough. To get back playing football at a high standard and at a team that could achieve something and get promoted to the Football League, it's a story tale, isn't it? It don't seem right, but it actually did, and I ended up playing in the final, getting man of the match, and it was quite incredible. But one thing from it, I believe that as a unit that we grew stronger together as a club, that at that point, and it did leave us in good stead come the end of the season when we did get promoted eventually.
But he said to us that he just wanted us to go out and win the game and make sure that we got promoted, and obviously he managed to get back and have a big hand in that as well. He went through some tough times, but he's come out the other side, and to find that out during the season and then still play at the end of it and get promoted was probably some roller coaster ride for him. I think it's probably the highlight of my career. I suppose with the year that he'd had leading up to it, I'd imagine it was the highlight of his career.
With footballers being some of the most physically fit athletes in the world, Oxford United legend James Constable, now playing as a striker under Todd's management at Eastleigh, finds it difficult to imagine being diagnosed with such a life-threatening illness midway through his career.
I've never experienced, sort of touch wood, anybody with that sort of condition, and from going from sort of a healthy player to obviously being diagnosed with that must have been a really tough time for him. But as a person, as a guy, I know that he would have given everything to try and beat that, and you can see his attributes as a player, he's probably sort of pulled on all of that to be obviously to fight that disease, and thankfully he did, and like I say, he's healthy, and he's done a great job, and obviously everybody's happy that he's still here and he can still do what he does today, and it's just it's great to see. If you miss like a week, 2 weeks through like a little knock or something and come back, it's hard enough. So I can imagine sort of obviously being out for that amount of time, but just to be able to sort of do the things you do on a daily basis, let alone play at a decent level, and obviously go on and still stay that level of fitness is obviously, like I say, credit to him, and he's doing brilliantly for us as a group as well. So we're delighted to have him.
Todd now takes a medicinal drug called Glyvec in order to aid his recovery.
It's a super pill. There's no other word for it. I don't even think about it. I go to the cupboard and pick it out and take, and I don't even realise I've done it sometimes because it's just habit. It's got me living my life. It saved me. If it weren't for that drug, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Regardless of other medical teams or football clubs, if it weren't for the NHS, I wouldn't be here today. They need research on different drugs, and they need help with that by getting money, and that's why these charities are so important. That's why I do charity events and stuff for leukemia lymphoma research, now called Bloodwise. I do that for them because they were a big part in creating the drug, so you like to give something back.
Since being diagnosed with leukemia, the Eastleigh manager has done a number of charitable projects to raise money for people less fortunate than himself, including releasing his own song and writing a book.
When you get told something like that, your outlook in life completely changes. I started doing things that I'd never done before, some crazy things, So there was one thing I wanted to do was bring some sort of story out and tell people that, and be public with it, because I was quite public from day dot being told, because I wanted to say, that if I did get better, that there was hope for people who actually did, get the illness, and it wasn't all negatives, I wrote a poem about my illness. Anyway, I showed my brother-in-law, and he's a singer-songwriter, and he said, look, let's make a song out of it. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, okay, we'll do it. Love the karaoke. I usually with a few drinks, but I do like karaoke. So I thought, yeah, let's do it. So we did it, and we made the song in his house from scratch, and then we publicised it and got it out there, which was amazing, really.
I know he wrote a book, and it's quite heavily sort of in there that the illness and obviously the sort of trouble he went through with it. So no, I think that's again sort of credit to him as a guy. He doesn't sort of go on about it, but obviously I'm sure it's sort of every game it's deep in his mind that he might not have been there for that game. So I think it's sort of a sort of driving factor as to why he wants to go and be successful, and I'm sure everybody at the club is more than happy to try and make that happen for him.
Without your people's money, it doesn't happen, and so people down the line, when there's new illnesses and different things that come out, which they do, they need this research and this funding to actually stop these horrible illnesses killing people, basically. It's a crazy story to think that I was actually a professional footballer after getting leukemia, and I'm the manager of a football club now, which is amazing.